16th meeting of the Cookeville City Council to order. Whoever roll call, please.
Councilman Womack.
Here.
Councilman Miller.
Here.
Vice Mayor Shelton. Mayor Shelton.
Here.
Good way to start. Vice Mayor Wheaton.
Here.
Councilman Walker.
Here.
5 present.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite those that wish to do so, stand for the invocation given tonight by Councilman Womack, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag.
If you all stand and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. In thy name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, consider approval of agenda as presented. Are there any changes?
No changes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion second, any discussion? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
Consider reappointment to the Public Building Authority. Mr. Mills.
Mayor, council members, the terms for 3 members for service on our Public Building Authority, which oversees the operation of the Leslie Town Center, expire this month. The members are Gary Floater and Sarah Johnson, who have served since 2002, and Jill Horner, who served since 2010. Members of the authority are appointed by the city council and serve 6-year terms. Mr. Martin, who's the chairman of the, Jim Martin, who's the chairman of the building authority, has submitted a letter recommending for the reappointment of 3 members for an additional 6-year term, and I would recommend for a reappointment.
Thank you. Is there a motion on these 3 names?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Are there any other names? All right. So motion is second. Any further discussion? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
4B, consider appointment to the Cookeville Regional Medical Center Board of Trustees. Mr. Mills.
Mayor, council members, the term of Alan Ray for service on the Cookeville Regional Medical Center Board of Trustees will expire in July of this year. A replacement for Mr. Ray should be appointed by the council when it would serve a term of 7 years to expire in July of 29.
I'll entertain motions, nominations.
I'd like to nominate Alma Anderson.
All right. We have a motion for Alma Anderson.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other nominations? All right, we have a motion and a second and no further nominations. All vote.
All votes correct. 4 yes, motion carries.
Under old business, 5A, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held on May 5th. Is there a motion? Motion second, any discussion? Vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
5B, consider on second and final reading ordinance O220303, rezoning of 5411 Lovelady Road, tax map 96, parcel 69 from RS20 single family residential to RS10 and RS5. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Ordinance 0220303 is recommended as approved by council on first reading. Zones approximately 20 acres of property from RS20 single family residential to RS5 single family residential to RS10 single family residential, and rezones approximately 87 acres from RS20 single family residential to RS5 single family residential. And there have been no changes to this ordinance since approved at first reading. I have received some correspondence relative to this from opposition that we heard prior to first reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 4 yes, motion carries.
5C, consider on second and final reading ordinance O220405, rezoning of properties located on West Spring Street, South Oak Avenue, Scott Avenue, and Depot Streets from CL Local Commercial to CBD Central Business District. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There have been no changes to this ordinance since approval on first reading. We've had no calls or comments. I recommend approval on second and final reading.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? No? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
5D, consider on second and final reading ordinance O022046, 0220406. Rezoning of 1100 South Willow Avenue, tax map 65, parcel 98 from CG General Commercial to CR Regional Commercial. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. There have been no changes to this ordinance as approved on first reading. I've had no calls or comments, and I recommend approval on second and final reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5E, hold a public hearing and consider on second and final reading ordinance O220507, amending the budgets of the General Fund, State Street A Fund, Solid Waste Fund, Tree Board Fund, Animal Control Fund, General Debt Service Fund, General Improvement Bond Fund, Transportation Fund, and Health Insurance of the City of Cookeville. Ms. Emble.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, this is second reading of the ordinance. We've received no calls or comments, but we have made one change to it since first reading. We have moved the West Stephen project from the Transportation Fund to the General Improvement Bond Fund, and that everything else within the ordinance remains unchanged, and I respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about this matter? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion? So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Under new business, 7A, consider awarding bid for cleaning services for water quality control and Public Works Department. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor, council, we collectively with the Public Works put out to bid our cleaning services and received 2 bids. Chanos and Sons at the water quality for $1,095 a month. Clean Corp for $1,025 for the Public Works building. I would request that in your motion that we'd like to recommend low bid, but if we needed to terminate the contract of the cleaning company, that we'd be allowed to go to the second bidder.
Is that legal?
I think that's all right.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. Motion is second, and if you'll word that in the motion of how that was stated, and Mr. Rader approved. So we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7B, consider awarding bid for 2022 Tennessee Tech Campus Water Relocation Project, Water Quality Control. Barry Turner.
Mayor, members of the council, this slide showing the project area where Tech is wanting to relocate a 16-inch water line to where they can install a clock tower. And they're also putting in pavers and reinforced concrete. So we're replacing some cast iron line there. We took bids on this project and we received 2 bids, low bid being from Rogers Group for $1,160,935.08, and I recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7C, consider approval of change order 1 to the Tech Campus relocation project. Barry Turner.
This is the same bid we was talking about, which the bid come in over double what was estimated. We've negotiated with the contractor and in discussing this with Tech as well. We've removed work on Stadium Drive, which was not going to have pavers installed. It was just going to be overlaid. And we've negotiated a price of $793,369.91. This includes an allowance of $50,000. We have a commitment letter from Tech to pay up to $765,000. So I recommend approval of this change order.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
That's correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
We consider resolution R220514, approving and authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement of the payment in lieu of taxes for Highlands Residential Services, property identified as Oak Tree Towers. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, you may remember last April, the council approved a pilot or a payment in lieu of property tax agreement with Highlands Residential for 2 new developments under the Tennessee Code. The property of housing authorities are exempt from all taxes and special assessments, provided that, and in lieu of taxes, the housing authority shall make payments for services provided by the city. Those services include, of course, police, fire, garbage and brush collection, street and sidewalk maintenance, and codes enforcement. We have some existing agreements with the Highlands Residential for other properties that they have. So this is something that we've done in the past, and we did approve last April. The April agreement from last year was for Oak Tree Towers, which is a 50-unit apartment complex for seniors located off Buffalo Valley Road, which recently opened. It was also for Hickory Valley Apartments, which was a 48-unit mixed housing development adjacent to or off Buffalo Valley Road. The 20-year pilot called for a payment of $110 per unit, so per residential unit, for an annual payment of $10,780. That's what's established in that pilot. For various reasons, the Oak Tree Towers development was delayed, and just like I said, it was recently completed. However, the Hickory Valley apartment construction is just now underway. Officials from Highlands Residential have indicated that the pilots need to be not only for 20 years, but 20 years from the date that these facilities open for their financial purposes. So they've requested that the current agreement be repealed, and because they're now on different timelines, that we do 2 separate agreements instead of 1 agreement for both. So we'll have 2 separate agreements, both of them for 20 years from the time that they open. This before you know, this is the Oak Tree Towers agreement, and it specifies that we will allow Highlands Residential to remit to the city an annual pilot in the amount of $110 a unit or $5,500 annually for the 50 units. And the term of the agreement would be for 20 years, beginning with tonight, so May 19. And this also repeals the previous agreement approved last year. Now, this also had to be approved by Putnam County Commission. I see Chris is here, and I believe the county has already approved this. So this would be the final approval of it. So if you've got any questions, I'll try to answer them. And Mr. Cassidy from the Highlands Residential here, if you have any questions for him.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any questions from the council?
I just, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for doing this project. It really helps out with some of our housing issues that we have in Cookeville. So thanks to Highland Residential for this.
We hope to be talking to you about more.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Any other comment? All right, I'll vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7E, consider resolution R220515, approving and authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement for the payment in lieu of taxes for Highlands Residential Services property identified as Hickory Valley Apartments. Mr. Mills.
Okay, which this is the second agreement we were just talking about, where we separated from last year. This again, like you said, is for Hickory Valley Apartments. It's also for $110 per unit for 20 years. What is a little different on this one, this will not go into effect until 2024, but that's when they project to have the Hickory Valley Apartments completed, entirely complete. But we run from 2024 to 2044. And again, this has been approved by the county commission, and I would recommend for your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. Any questions from the council? I'll vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7F, consider approval of request from Highlands Residential to waive the 1 year of payment in lieu of taxes specified in the April 2021 cooperation agreement for Hickory Valley Apartments. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, the 21 agreement we were just discussing required, as I said, a payment of $10,780 per year. We just completed 1 year under the contract, but as I previously noted, the Hickory Valley Apartments have not even been built yet. So they're requesting that we waive the required payment for Hickory Valley Apartments. That would only pay for the facility that's open, Oak Creek Towers, which would be $5,500. I believe this is a fair and appropriate request. I'd recommend your approval of it.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions from the council? I'll vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7G, consider approval of contract for sale of real estate and authorize the city manager to purchase property owned by Stevens Street Baptist Church identified as a portion of parcel 20.02 map 53I Group D. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, over the last year or so, we've had discussions with Stevens Street Baptist Church, in particular about some property that will be necessary to enable us to widen West Stevens Street, which project's currently been designed, and we hope to go into right-of-way acquisition later this year. The church has agreed and approached us about purchasing a tract consisting of about 25,826 square feet. It's the purchase price for this is $90,000. The contract specifies that $5,000 of this would be paid as a deposit. And again, this property, at least a portion of it, would be used towards improvements to West Stevens Street. I would request your approval of the contract and authorize me to purchase the property at a cost of $90,000 with a $5,000 deposit. And this is some photographs of the property. The upper part is this back part is the drive that goes into the Suntan Village. So the property line is right there. This was cut off from the rest of the track. So it goes down to the back side of the country bonefit property. This upper part is flat and has a lot of potential for use.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is that entire parcel, the square green is what that is? Is that what we're seeing?
Yes. So you see the drive right there, you're pointing right where that is, that's the line right there. The driveway goes back into Suntan Village that stays on the church property. They have an easement with that. So it's everything from, I guess that would be everything east of that drive down to the back of the country bonefit property.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7H, consider approval of contract for sale of real estate and authorize city manager to purchase jointly with Putnam County property owned by Vernon Wilson identified as parcel 71 on tax map 64. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, this property is located at 3429 Lee Seminary Road. And as you stated, it's parcel 71 on tax map 64, and it consists of approximately 16.6 acres. It's located adjacent to the Highlands Business Park, and is also adjacent to property already owned by the city and the county. And it that's also with combined with city and county property would have frontage on Highland Park Boulevard. And also, as I said, has frontage on Lee Seminary. I have some aerial photographs here that can show you the property a little better. The purchase price for the property is $900,000 or approximately $54,217 per acre. The property would be jointly purchased by the city and the county. The city's portion of the property or the purchase would be $450,000. And approval of the contract to purchase it would have to be approved by the Putnam County Commission. You can see there is a fairly nice home located on this property that is included with the 16.6 acres. But I would request your approval of the contract, subject to the approval to purchase this, subject to the approval of the Putnam County Commission, and authorization to purchase the property, the city's portion of $450,000, which is half the total $900,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7I, consider approval of right of first refusal agreement with Vernon Wilson to purchase property identified as parcel 7102 on tax map 64. Mr. Mills.
Mayor, council members, Mr. Wilson also owns a 70-acre tract on the south side of Lee Seminary Road, directly across from this property just approved for us to purchase or at least a portion of it. He has been in contact with our retired economic development coordinator, still part-time employee, Ms. Deeper, about the possibility of the city purchasing this at some point, the city and county at some point in the future. This property's been identified as having prime potential for industrial or commercial type development. It's a wonderful location. He has agreed to let us unofficially allow the city to have the right to purchase the property. This would make it official. Going to give us the first right of refusal to purchase this property should he decide to sell it.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Yes, Councilman Miller.
I had a question about, I guess, both of these items together. If we don't purchase that first section, he doesn't want to have the right of refusal on the second.
Right, that's
Okay.
what's been indicated to us, yes.
Okay. And this is according to our economic development coordinator, a really strong piece of property for future.
Melinda's recommended to purchase them both. In particular, one, the 16 acres, it ties to the business park. And at least a portion of it can be added to an existing tract that we own, to make a much more marketable piece of property. It would increase the potential for having somebody larger located there. Now, there's part of it that it goes upstream that's really has no use, has no value, but the price is pretty reasonable to be able to expand the business park. Those opportunities are rare to be able to expand the business park. And then this tract you're looking at now, it's 70 acres, relatively flat. There's no perfect piece of property in Putnam County anymore, but it does. Again, it has a lot of the same characteristics. It's in a great location. It has a great potential for development.
Thank you.
And is on a road we're fixing, correct?
That's right. We'll talk about that in just a second.
All right, we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
7J, consider approval of MOU to provide financial assistance to the Westmoreland Group for the completion of certain improvements to Tennessee Avenue necessary for the location of a Fedex Distribution Facility. Mr. Mills.
Hey, council members, as we talked about at our work session on Monday, Westmoreland or Westco is the owner developer of the site of the new FedEx distribution center is currently being built on Tennessee Avenue. And they did agree as part of the site plan review process to complete certain improvements to Tennessee Avenue. Basically, they agreed to remove the existing asphalt and gravel and then go back and install up to 10 inches of gravel to build for this, and also widen the street to match in terms of lane widths of the northern portion of Tennessee Avenue where this abuts. We did force it to get TDOT to agree to put the asphalt in. So everything was sort of proceeding on. But you've been out there, I'm sure, I've heard people call it, it's, the road is just not holding up, so they wanted to test the subgrade, the dirt area underneath the gravel, and it was determined that it was not adequate to handle the kind of traffic that's going to be on this section of Tennessee Avenue. In fact, they recommended that 3 feet of it be removed and with shot rock installed. Westmoreland, Westmoreland Company did not plan for this. And as we talked about Monday, they've asked for no financial assistance from the city or the county for the development of this project. The tract to the south, we did discount the price of that property to help them cover the cost. But the improvements they also have to do to Tennessee Avenue. So they came to us asking for assistance. And the request is for $250,000 to go towards this cost for replacement subgrade. The preliminary estimate for that is $400,000. Again, I think this is probably appropriate considering we've not done any other type of assistance. And we provide lots of times pilots or other types of assistance for employers. This is a 250 employee facility, $42 million total investment. I think 250 is probably fair for us to do. I'm going to recommend for your approval of that. And also this would be, the contribution would come from our economic development fund. And that's why we have that fund, to help do economic development. You can see on this photo there at the very bottom, that's the part by the Garrett brothers. That's where they've already removed the substandard soils and have already begun putting in the shot rock there. That same process would happen the rest of the way too. But I'll recommend for approval and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion or comment?
I know you talked about an end date possibly of August 1st, which we know can't be guaranteed, but just letting people know we're working on it and trying to get it done as fast as possible.
Well, the president of Westco was waiting for me to fax him the agreement tonight once he approved it by our signature on it. And they plan to contact Ferguson, who's their contractor, hopefully to start tomorrow.
That's great.
So they understand and they want this finished as fast as we do. The day we put in the contract, it's just, if something did happen, I didn't want to have to come back to you. I put June 1st, it's delayed. So it's just a safe thing. I fully expect this to be done in the next few weeks.
Councilman.
And this green section on, I guess, the left side here, that's the farm that we've got the first right of refusal.
That's correct.
Okay.
So is this road 2 lanes?
Yes.
Would there be any advantage to at least where all this is already torn up through here from Fedex to Garrett Brothers to make that 3 lanes while they're doing this?
Well, that was evaluated. I don't know if Blake wants to speak on that, but that was looked at as part of this review process to approve the site plans for both of these and have determined we did get approved and this being designed to TDOT standards for industrial access roads. So it's wider than just your normal lane, but I don't think the turning lane is justified right now, the turning lane. But the actual travel lanes, I believe, Blake, are 12 feet in width.
Yes, sir.
Typical streets 10 feet in width. And it also has 2-foot shoulders.
Correct, yes.
Asphalt shoulders, so you actually have 14 feet. But I mean, it was reviewed and determined wasn't necessary at this time.
I mean, we know for sure there's going to be 250 trucks a day into the FedEx. That's today when it's built. Who knows what that'll be? I mean, it's
a good question. I can just tell you this is where we've ended up with this. Melinda and Craig worked all this out and it might be a little difficult.
widen it again in a couple of years. All right. Any other comments or questions?
I had one more, and I might have just missed it, but do we have right of way in front of this in
Both
the event?
of the companies on this side dedicated, I believe, John, 30 feet from center line, 40 feet from center line to accommodate future widening. The property across the street here that we now have, hopefully we'll have a refusal, right of first refusal. And when it's developed, we will also require them to dedicate right of way. And depending on the scale of development, the street would be widened then.
Any other comments?
Public can't comment.
All vote.
votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
That concludes our agenda portion of the meeting. We do have time at the end for anyone that would like to speak on non-agenda items, if we have anyone.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Come to the lectern, identify yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Jason Ketron, and I live at 2404 Bluebird Lane here in Cookeville. And I was interested to know if the council had a chance to look into the last proposal I had for running a ice cream truck inside the city limits. It's been almost 30 days. I tried
Being
to-
administrative, we can make sure that the city manager's office, codes department gets back with you on that. We'll ask them to please.
I mean, Darren did research, and to be honest, we've been in the middle budget. I've not had time to go any further than the research that Darren's done, so we have it still on our to-do list.
Okay.
So hopefully you can have him an answer within 2 weeks or
Well,
sooner.
I answer what we think if we could do.
Correct. That's what I mean. No, that's what I
I
mean.
don't know that we're prepared to recommend that we do anything, but we can look at this and come up, we have proposals for you guys to consider.
Correct.
If you want to consider it, yes.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Any other citizen comment? All right. 9A is receive report on debt obligation, Form CT 0253 on SRF loan for water treatment plant expansion project. Ms. Emily.
Council, this report on debt obligation, Form CT 0253, is required by the Tennessee Controller Division of Local Government Finance. It's nothing more than a report that summarizes our debt obligation. This debt is a state revolving loan fund program loan. The loan was approved by the Tennessee Local Development Authority on April 26, 2022. The amount of the loan is $17,500,000. The interest rate is 1.07%. The purpose of the loan is to expand capacity to the water treatment plant. And the security on the loan is the revenues of the Water Quality Control Department, and additional securities is the city's state shared taxes. No action is required by council. This just needs to be accepted to be part of our record. So that's all. Thank
Very
you.
much. Any questions from the council about this? We don't need to vote, correct? Or you want to vote to receive it?
I think so.
Yeah, motion to receive.
So moved.
Motion second. Any other comments or questions from the council? All vote.
All votes correct. 5 yes, motion carries.
Any final comments from the council? We're adjourned.